So what you'll see today is something called centres or stations. And each of those centres, what we're hoping is working towards things like discovering, inquiring, exploring, reflecting, rather than just doing puzzles at a table or building blocks at a table. That's probably what you'll see as a parent, but these environments have intentionally been set up to meet the requirements of the program. And it all comes back to this. It all comes back to the early childhood. It's an important time where they lay the foundation and they build those cognitive, social, emotional, and physical possibilities. They can only do that when they're in a learning space that's collaborative. The four walls, although is another way of doing it, doesn't allow them to explore as much as it would in a collaborative learning space. So these learning environments really reflect not just our beliefs and values, but the children's beliefs and values about how they learn. It's not what they're learning, it's about how they're learning. They're flexible. You might see as a parent, it looks a little bit chaotic, but it's organized chaos, and it's planned, and it's intentional. What you will see is a lot of learner agency. I'm going to keep coming back to this word. Throughout the year, we will offer lots of parent workshops. Learner agency is something that the IB are changing right now. It's all about the student. And I know we keep saying that to parents, but it's all about how the student learns whilst they're with us in school. And we set up this environment that is safe for them. And it allows for inquiry-based learning, to ask those questions, to show those curiosities, to explore things that they don't know about yet. So from the IB standpoint, these are some of the things that we have to follow. So in a collaborative learning space, you'll see what's the learner doing, your child or your children, what's the adult doing, the facilitator, and what's the environment doing. So these are the three things that are guiding us always when we plan anything with the early years. Now you can't read that, I'm going to share that with you, don't worry. But I picked out some key phrases which I thought, as a parent as well myself, that were important for you to know about. So from the learner's perspective, hopefully today you'll see some of these things. You'll see children involved in discussion, talking to each other. We learn best when we're talking to people or sharing ideas, rather than just sitting by ourselves. Some children like to be independent. Some children like that time when they're working by themselves, and we also cater for that too. We're allowing the children to be risk takers and explore those ideas about what it is they're learning about. This is a great age right now. It's the unknown for them, and it's the known for us. So how we share in that journey together is really important. Are you a parent that answers your child's questions with a yes or no? Are you a parent who says, well, mummy said so, that's the way it is? What kind of parent are you? Are you facilitating in this type of learning as well? So from the facilitator's point of view, which is the teacher or the point of contact teacher, they're really setting up an environment with resources and planning and challenging tasks. This type of learning allows each of the facilitators to cater individually for students. Think about it this way. If you have a nursery class like we did last year, you have 18 students in front of you, 2 grown-ups. It's really difficult to cater individually. When you've got children in various different grouping strategies with a large number of adults, the possibilities are endless, they're limitless. And this is what opens the door to that kind of environment, as it goes beyond those 4 walls. So the environment is all about promoting collaboration, independence. It's safe, and it's physically and emotionally supportive. As a parent, this might resonate with you. I like to use this as a principle sometimes too. I'm confused, I'm thinking about what it is, I'm trying to take it all in. This is why we've invited you in today, so you can actually see it, because I don't know about you, but I'm a visual learner. I need to see it. I can read about it, I can research, but I need to see it. So some of the parent questions often come back to this with a collaborative learning space. I want you to get out of your head that it's a large number of children with a small number of adults. Okay? Some of these questions have come up from parents in this school, but also in other schools where I've set up learning spaces. And they're rightful concerns, yes? All these children together, how does the teacher know my child? Isn't it noisy? Isn't it too distracting? Isn't there too much going on? Hopefully some of these questions, when you go around today, they'll be answered. But what I need you to know as a parent, that one of the requirements of the program is there's collaboration amongst the adults. And the teachers that work with nursery, JKG and SKG, they are expected to have scheduled meetings in order for this to happen. So once or twice a week, they meet with Kristen to talk about curriculum and program and learning objectives. Once or twice a week, they meet with myself to talk about the collaborative learning spaces. And then at least twice a week, or in an 8-day cycle, I should say, they're meeting together. There's a lot of meetings. There's a lot of collaboration to make these things happen. And I need you to know that it's not just a teacher just doing what they want to do independently. We really work together, and everything that we do is monitored. We want to step away from this idea that there's one sage, there's one expert. And I grew up with this kind of education system too, where there was the one grown-up in the classroom telling me what I should do and what I shouldn't do. And all the children are doing the exact same thing. So we're really stepping away from that. So if you see anything today, you'll see something very different from this. And there's reasons for that. There's mountains of research to support how children learn best. And this is one of my favorite diagrams, because I just think quite often we don't give time to assess not only how the children are learning, but what they've learned and how they've understood it. By lecturing at them, 5% of whatever it is you're talking at them, like I'm talking at you right now, is going to stay inside. The bottom bit here, we're really looking at the whole brain. We're really looking at your child coming to school using the creativity and the knowledge and the understanding and the arts and the maths and the language and the friendship skills and the relationship skills. And they can only do this by something called the participatory teaching methods, where they can talk to others, group discussion. They practice by doing it, not by it being controlled by the teacher. Now I'm ready to go and do it. They actually explore it. And then the teacher brings them back. And then the teacher lets them go, and the teacher brings them back. So these passive teaching methods have really shifted aside now, even with our early years. And it's an incredible age group to work on this whole idea about learning from each other. So you might not see all of this today. What you will see today hasn't been especially organized for you. This is what we do every day. One of the things we do is move away from that whole class teaching model, and we look at these different strategies. Teacher-led, teacher-facilitated, student-led, independent, small groups, and peer teaching. Research says that children of this age actually learn best from one another. So we actually set up environments where the children can actually peer teach. And I'll tell you a little bit about a session I had with JKG the other day. So for these things to happen, we need a positive learning community. And within each section, the point of contact teacher has organized what we call morning meetings. So your child comes into school, they take attendance by themselves, they check their friends are in, they check their friends who aren't in, and they set up the day ready for school. It's all about self-management and self-regulation. So there's a lot of independency that we're expecting from children, even at this age. It's incredible what they're doing, incredible. So our mornings start with the circle time, or the morning meeting, where they start to talk about the day and think about the day. And this is in every section. This is in every early years classroom. You'll see this. We're getting the children ready for school and building that community so that they feel safe with one another, they can trust one another, and they enjoy one another. And developmentally wise, they're not ready for this because the world centers around them at this age. So it's really challenging for the students to actually get together and learn from one another. The collaborative learning spaces allow us to do one-to-one. So there's a lot of formative assessments, which are day-to-day assessments to inform future planning for the teacher. They get the opportunity to do that. Reading assessments. We do lots of reading assessments with our younger ones. And parents often ask, well, when does reading start? What age should my child be reading? There is no age. It's when your child is ready. Reading readiness is huge. And once your child is ready to go down that path of reading, and Kristen will talk to you about this in a minute, that's how we know that we can cater for them. So we've got some of our SKG students through these assessments who are reading. We've also got some JKG students too, but there's no age on it. It's facilitated learning, small groups, and these two lovely ladies, I had a great session with them. I popped into the JKG classroom, and I normally mess things up and the teacher gets mad at me. But they were actually exploring this learning outcome. They were looking at how print is represented in the real world. And they were looking at A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but they weren't singing the alphabet. It's not very helpful to know the alphabet. What's helpful is to know and understand where print is in the environment, to find it, to connect with it, to compare it. So these two lovely ladies, they were knowing their sounds, they were knowing their letters, the names of the letters, the sounds of the letters. I went and I said, should we go on an exploration? Should we go and find some of these sounds? And that's when it became a challenge, because they knew them like this in a little puzzle, but then when we went out exploring and inquiring in the environment, that's when amazing learning happened. And they both taught each other where to find their own names, their friends' names, letters and sounds. And this is how I know that they've understood letters, names of letters, sounds of letters. Not letter of the week is A, letter of the week is B, letter of the week is C. So lots of small group. Sometimes the learning objective is also linked back to the skills like cooperation, appreciation. There's a lot of that going on with our nursery especially. They need to feel safe when they come to our school. And they're learning all about who they can trust right now. So the nursery team do an incredible job of setting up these centers to allow children to learn to cooperate. Small lead, we have teachers taking small groups where they actually teach a session, but it's a smaller group. Now you might be saying, well, where are all other children? You'll see that today. We talked about independent time. Some children need that quiet time and learn best independently. We do encourage collaborative work, but we do also recognize and support that some of our children like to work independently sometimes. And you can see how this ties back to our curriculum, making sense of numbers. I think she was sorting the numbers into similar patterns and then putting them from the smallest to the largest. She wasn't just counting to 10. She was actually really exploring how the number system works and making sense of numbers. So a similar maths-related centre where the teacher is facilitating a small group. And based on the teacher's assessments, they're looking at this goal of making sense of number. In this particular shot, the teacher is asking the children to make certain values. So they're talking about place value. And these children were making hundreds. which is really incredible. But then they would correct each other and interact with each other. My number's bigger than yours, my number's smaller than yours. I can make 4 digits, I can make 5. And they're learning from each other, right? So all this happens in a very organized way. And the teachers do an incredible amount of planning and collaborating under the watchful eye of Kristen and myself. The children can actually explain those systems of organization to you. As soon as they come in the morning, this is nursery doing attendance. Who's here today? Who's not here today? It's amazing. Amazing. 3 and 4-year-olds. Where are my friends? I don't think I've ever seen 3-year-olds self-manage like this. They come in the morning, they unpack their bags. The Didi has no job to do this year. She does not know what to do. These children are very independent. There's a lot of student choice, and I come back to that learner agency again. Children get to choose, what do I want to do first thing? So all these centers are set up, and they get to choose, oh, I'm going to put my name here, I'm going to do this. And then the teacher who's planned those centers works with the children in different group settings to see, well, what do they know already and where do they need to go next? Roles and responsibilities, oh, they like that at this age. My job. It's all about learning what their role is and their identity is in that community. So you'll see a lot of this, and it rotates and it changes. And children choose the jobs, and then in collaboration with the teacher comes up with these systems of organization with the children. We don't sit down and say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The children come in and they learn about different events. They set up the calendar, they talk about it, they can find the word Monday, they can find the word Wednesday, and then we bring them back together and talk about it. Of course we sing songs about it and have fun with it, but we don't just learn Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's an important part of our education, and I think sometimes the misunderstanding is we are learning those basic things. We're just learning it differently. It's our SKG calendar. So one of the things we need to do to create all these systems in the collaborative learning environment is have a respect for one another, for ourselves, and for the environment. So you'll see essential agreements everywhere. Not rules, not school rules. We're agreeing to do these different things. And every 6 weeks, the teacher pulls these out and says, do we still agree with this? And these come from the children, they come from the teacher, and this is how we want our children to be learning in our environment. It's not just respecting, look at those 3 different things. It's respecting themselves, each other, and the environment. It's a huge task at this age. It's huge. And everything we do has reflection built into it. Learning never stops, it's a cycle. So the teachers get together and reflect about the centers they've set up. The children get together and reflect on what they've learned and how they've learned. I love this noisometer. This is in one of the classrooms, inside voices and outside voices. Collaboration can be noisy, but we're okay with that. And then I hear this question. Do you see? This is what amazes me, because I think as a parent myself, you're often worried about the basics like reading and writing and mathematics, yeah? Those core things. It is happening. It's just happening in a different way than what you're probably used to. So I want you to go away today, when you go back to the spaces, and actually think, well, yeah, my child is learning all that stuff. They're just learning it very, very differently. And look at all the other stuff they have to learn. It's a lot for 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds to learn. And they're doing an incredible job, and they've only been in school, 5 weeks? So I'm going to stop there. I feel like I've talked too much. Kristen will go into a little bit about the curriculum. There's a lot of coverage of this topic, and we've only just cracked it open. We will provide a lot more parent workshops throughout the year, and we have a Padlet link at the end of this slide, which we will share with you. If you have specific questions about what Kristen or I share, please add them to the Padlet, because we will not have time for questions today, because you want to get to the classrooms, right?